The following was recorded in front of a live studio audience at the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe. This is the United Podcast Network.
Welcome to Easy Money New England.
Oh, can somebody help us here?
We can, because we are real estate and mortgage professionals.
Where you go?
It's just come in and browse.
That's right. Come on in, listen up and learn.
How long do you intend to browse?
In a short period of time, our panel will teach you some tricks that might make your house buying easier.
You don't ask her how long she intends to browse.
You might not be looking for a mortgage today, but we'll get you ready.
You don't look like browsers.
Are you looking?
No, what do browsers look like?
Yeah, maybe I'm half browse.
On his father's side.
This is Easy Money New England
Let's show the lady we're browsers.
with your host, Ryan Damico.
Hey, look at us, we're browsers. One more word out of you and he gets it, all right?
Hello. Welcome to another edition of our show, Easy Money New England, where every week we bring you money-making opportunities or money-saving ideas, all in the areas of real estate. Now, this week, we're talking to Ryan McCheffrey. He is the owner and president of Mill City Financial Partners. He's been doing this for about 17 years. And this week's show is pretty interesting because it may not necessarily say real estate, but you need to save money to be able to purchase more real estate. And, the topic of today's show is financial aid for college education. And, one of the questions I asked him, I said, well, does everybody qualify? And, do you have to make less money and all that kind of stuff? And this isn't just for people that have restrictions on income or restrictions on assets. There's actually a concept, and we also have Scott Murphy here today from NewFed Mortgage, who'll talk about the equity play on how to qualify for financial aid, even if you are financially stable. So without further ado, Ryan, welcome to our show. Scott, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Ryan, I kind of referenced it in the opening, but, the first question someone to ask is, do I make too much money to qualify for financial aid? I mean, college is what, $60,000 a year these days? I mean, is that where we're at?
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at anywhere, state schools are right around 30, to the private schools we're high 60s now.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that's the interesting thing is that's the sticker price. There's another price for every family, and that's something called the expected family contribution. 3 big letters every family wants to understand is EFC. This is the minimum amount that you pay for college.
And EFC is, say it again?
Expected family contribution.
Family contribution. Okay, that's interesting.
And that's based on income, your adjusted gross income, and something referred to as assessable assets. So you have your sticker price, call it $60,000, minus your EFC. And the best way to set this up is to talk about the 2 different ways to go about this. The first way is to work with the financial aid department. And the financial aid department, who works for the school, is going to direct you towards the FAFSA forms and or the CSS profile forms. And they're going to say, go online, and they're going to kind of rush you through it, hurry up, fill out the forms, first come, first serve. And when you go online and you fill out these forms, every family in the country gets spit back this figure, this EFC figure. So say you go online and you get an EFC of $30,000. The school's going to say it's a $60,000 school. Well, congratulations, you have an EFC of $30,000. Our price is $60,000. You're now asking for $30,000 in financial aid. The question is, how are they formulating that EFC? And that's based on income and assessable assets. Most families in the country do qualify for aid because the income brackets, for example, 1 kid in school, the income limits go up to $150,000 to $200,000.
Yeah.
And if you have 2 children in school, the income limits are right around $300,000 to $350,000.
And when you say 2 children in school, you're saying college age children?
Exactly.
Okay.
So, for example, the question is, out of this $30,000 we just went through, how much of the income is generating that $30,000? And how much of the assessable assets are generating that $30,000. So, for example, how we help a family is we say, hey, look, that $30,000 EFC, $20,000 of it's coming from your income, and there's nothing we can do about that. The other $10,000 is coming from your assessable assets, your 529 plans, your checking, your savings, your stocks, your bonds, maybe your home equity. If you just remanage your financial affairs a little bit here, we can take that 10 out and now drop you from a $30,000 EFC to a 20.
So when they look at your assets, they're actually putting a percentage of your asset based on the equity that you have in your home?
Private schools do. Private schools use something called the institutional methodology.
Wow. And where do they get that value from? How do they know what that home is worth?
Well, they're just going to ask you on it. They're going to ask you for the fair market value.
Fair market value.
And, you know, then there's the assessable value from the town for taxes as well.
So that's where the whole strategy comes in, right? So, I mean, if in fact, say for that example, you said that, you know, 30,000, 20 was coming from their income, 10 was coming from their assets, how could you have done that differently where it was just 20 for the income and not the other 10,000 for the assets, if you have known doing this paperwork ahead of time?
Exactly. So the school's not going to give you all the tricks of the trade. They're not going to show you how to get the biggest check out of their endowment fund to increase your financial aid package with. So what we sit down with families and say, hey, look, we want to talk about the EFC and forget the forms for a minute. The forms got to go in. The financial aid department's going to focus on the forms. They're going to want you to fill out those forms. We want to talk about the methodologies behind the forms, and there are two. Behind the FAFSA form, there's the federal methodology. They're not going to count the home equity. Just, you know, a little tip.
And that's for a federal.
That's for in-state, out-of-state, state schools, but there are state schools using the second methodology, which is the institutional methodology. So it's really all about methodology.
In all schools in America, basically, in colleges, it's either one or the other.
Yeah, but every institutional methodology is going to require the FAFSA form as well.
Okay. That's interesting. So if you got to the family before they actually filled out these forms and say they had, you know, 50% equity in their home, what type of strategies could you use so they could maximize their or minimize their effective EFC? How could they have effectively minimized the EFC if you were to get to these forms earlier in the process?
Well, if you're dealing with someone with home equity, if you're looking at your private schools like your Bentleys, your Babsons, or what have you, yes, you have to remanage some of your equity, because if you don't, the school's going to take your equity in the form of higher tuition payments. So you want to remanage it. And there's two ways to do it, and it's not that difficult. It's either some type of cash out refinance. So it could be a good time to do some debt consolidation with Scotty or your company.
So Scott, if you So Scott, if you you know, to get someone into play here, what are some of the strategies that they could do to effectively lower their equity position, but without, you know, creating more debt for themselves?
Brian, there's a couple ways of doing it. Obviously, the first and obvious, first one that comes to mind everybody thinks of is a home equity line of credit to pay off or maybe consolidate other payments, so their overall monthly payment, including the new college tuition, stays exactly the same, or in some cases maybe be less. Another way to do it is if you have two children, let's say, first 2 years apart. In 5 years, you'll be an empty nester. So, some strategies are, let's look at the 5-1 ARM, refinance up to 80% loan to value of our house, pay off everything else, so we just have one monthly payment. And we know in 5 years, we no longer need the 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath house because we're empty nesters and we're thinking of retirement, we're thinking of downsizing. So we put a plan in place that's going to go with their life plan. So together with myself, with Ryan, sit down and say, what does the next 10 years look like for you? The kids are off to college, they graduate, then they're off to life. What are you planning to do with this asset you have of your house?
Well, with this day and age, they might be living in the basement for a while too.
That could be a problem, but
until they're 35.
Jonathan wants to buy a double wide?
Yeah, I want to downsize to a double wide.
He's a minimalist.
Double wide.
He's serious.
And that might be a little big. I could go probably single.
But you want a single just for the man cave part.
Yeah, well, if things don't work out with the wife, I'll end up with 2 singles side by side, 1 Tindermobile and 1 Pimpmobile.
See, so
there you go.
So if you were looking for college aid, you would know that you just need a short-term loan because you're going right back to your double wide and you're good.
That's right. How far in advance should someone be looking at their financial spreadsheet before planning for college here?
Well, with regards to the...
To sit down with you is really where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I mean, how soon?
Yeah. So my kid's in high school now, and I'm thinking about college. Should I start it when the kid's a freshman? Should I wait till they're a senior?
7th grade.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better. But with regards to my service, my partner in this is 123 College. They're down in Deerfield Beach, Florida, so they have a little bit better location than us. But their service is made for kids in high school. So the ideal age is freshman, sophomore, start lining things up. But obviously, it's never too late for juniors and seniors. In fact, it's not too late for a freshman in college because every year the forms have to go in. So I have people who have signed up for the service who have a senior in high school and a sophomore in college.
Gotcha.
Because those colleges want those forms every year because specifically with the FAFSA form, that comes with government money. And these schools get paid for accepting students and the students go into debt. That's another story, but it's the ideal freshman, sophomore.
Once you get a child going to college, this becomes another tax time type of scenario. You're doing it every year, no matter what.
And they're going to demand it, and they got to go in.
But if you, I won't mention any names, but say you put 9 applications in and only 1 school you got into, right? So that 1 school.
Thanks for not mentioning it, Brian.
It was actually myself. So that 1 school, I mean, now that they know where they're going, how much time do they have once they get that approval letter from the college
to
actually say, okay, well, I got approved from this college, call it Bentley or whatever it is, right? Say, I got approved. Now, do they get approved before the financial package, or do they get approved already with the financial package?
It's 2 separate things. We when we're working with folks, you can send. We don't want to send in the forms until we've managed assets properly. So we can send those in.
But you're not sending those forms in until you actually got accepted by the.
Oh no, you can send them in before.
Oh, beforehand too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because they're going right to the government.
So the financial thing is separate, so we like to keep it separate. Apply.
So if a child got accepted into a school, not a child, they're probably adolescent now, right? So if they get accepted, can you then go with the paperwork too, or is that part of the acceptance package?
It's right around February or March.
Yep.
Okay, you're gonna get something called your awards letters. That's when you know you've been accepted from the school.
Gotcha.
And they've gotten all the financial aid document. If they've accepted you, they're looking to give you a financial aid package, hopefully. They would report back. They would communicate with the student via email that, we need your financial aid forms.
Gotcha. So it's not one or the other. It's all timing at that point.
Yeah, pretty much depending upon the family's finances and, what's going on with the family dynamic. I'll typically say, hey, look, just send off applications, go, and let's see who comes back with the best package. And it can be tough. You try to tell your student, don't get married to one school here. Keep an open mind, but you want to see. It's basically a bunch of offer letters, and it's a need-based service. We go after need-based aid.
So it's it's part of your. I remember writing stories like why I want to go to Stonehill or why I want to go here. It's part of that package that you're sending into the college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've been actually doing and planning some events where we're talking with families and that have children that are involved in youth sports, and everybody thinks little Johnny and little Jill are going to get full ride scholarships and go to Division I, but when you start getting down to Division II, Division III, they don't have full ride scholarships, so there's going to be some package there. And if your child wants to play, Division III sports, awesome opportunity, they're going to have to look for financial aid. They're going to have to look for grants. They're going to have to look for money from colleges, endowment funds, and things like that. And this program helps set that right up in place. It goes hand in hand where they can really start planning it. And, for those that know their child is really involved in a sports or an activity, maybe it's music, maybe it's drama, and they know they want to continue to do that in college, this is a great opportunity to look and find money and opportunities for financial aid.
Sure, and we can give them some help on that because there are just some schools that are just more generous than others, and we'll be able to give that information to them preliminarily before they go on this wild goose chase.
Because you have a history with all these different schools, really all across the country?
Yeah. I mean, I obviously I do mostly my stuff in New England.
Yep.
But I was working with a client last night in Michigan. We can go out there. But we give them a preliminary look because, it's kind of, the guidance department at the high school, there's certain things they do.
Yep.
And then there's certain things they don't do.
Right. That's not one of them.
Yeah.
Is this a less expensive option than traditional student loans, or is this in addition to traditional student loans?
A financial aid package is made up of what we go after first is the money you don't have to pay back, the endowment money, whether they call it gifts, grants, or scholarships, whether it's merit-based or need-based. All we care is the stuff you don't have to pay back first. But part of every family's financial aid package is going to be the Stafford loan. It's going to be unsubsidized and subsidized. It's going to be $5,500 per freshman, $6,500 per sophomore, $7,500 per junior and senior. This is why the forms have to go in every year, because the schools receive this money, and the student goes into debt for that alone. And that's specifically for that amount. So it's going to be a part of every package. That's just how the system works. But the idea is to get that free money amount the biggest number possible.
And another great part of the program from working with Ryan is they have the opportunity to see, because now we're talking about not only mom and dad paying and going into debt, now the student is actually getting into debt. So they get a chance to look at several different colleges, the costs, what the intended outcome for income 5 years after college is for each college, and say, I like college A and I like college B. If I go to college A, I end up, myself being the student, $55,000 in debt at the end of 4 years. And if I go to college B, I end up $20,000 in debt.
Yeah.
Do I like college A $35,000 more than I like college B?
Right.
And as we know in everything, student loan debt is the new Social Security debt. That's the big bubble rolling down the hill. Nobody wants to talk about it.
Just being in the mortgage business as long as we have, I mean, the student debt is just racking up. I mean, it's tough to get ahead if you're getting out of college and you're getting a job you still can't pay off that debt with even the job coming out of school today. So it's important to, I think this service is an excellent service. I'd recommend, if someone's listening right now, they're driving around or they're on the treadmill or whatever they're doing.
You point to him when you say the treadmill.
This guy over here. Because I always say that they're driving around. He's like, well, they could be doing something else.
Right.
They could be taking the laundry off their treadmill and actually folding it. It's quite possible.
But if someone's interested in this, how do they find you?
Well, they can call me at my direct number is 617-312-9820, or they can simply email me. It's my first and last name, ryanmcsheffery @hotmail.com.
Great. So 123 College, that's a separate entity, and that's their specialty, and you kind of how does that work?
They're a partnership under my company umbrella, Mill City Financial Partners. I have my partners lined up. I have a direct partner. I have a CPA who's a partner and an estate planning attorney that have their different businesses that they specialize in. But then I have, the broker deal, the insurance piece. But then I also have 123 College. They help me. They help me on the college financial aid side. They handle what I don't want to handle, which is the forms, because I get enough paperwork in my life as a retirement planner.
Yep.
And that's just what they do all day, every day. And that's what I need, someone who is that specialized, and they are.
Scott, you mentioned one of the options was a 5/1 ARM. Are there any other options that a homeowner could use to go after some money for college?
Absolutely. Home equity lines of credit are a great opportunity. If they intend to, pass down the house, retain the house, there's 30-year mortgage, 15-year mortgage, 20-year mortgage. There's many programs out there. We just sit down and figure out what's the best program for that family, for what they're looking to do, and what their needs are.
Is there anything to using that money that you're pulling out of your house to wipe out all your other debt so that you only have just the one payment?
No, there's no restrictions to it.
Is there a benefit to it?
Reducing their overall monthly bill. We've seen it many times. You'll see somebody come in and maybe there's credit card debt for a home improvement job that went awry, and now we can pay off that $50,000 credit card, reduce their overall monthly payment because they're about to pick up another monthly payment soon when their son or daughter or both go to college the following year. So we're just trying to really look at it as a whole lifestyle financial umbrella. How can we get your monthly payment to be the lowest possible monthly payment or the monthly payment that you want to pay?
Gotcha.
And whatever avenues, whatever we have to pay off, there could be people that have $60,000 in equity. There might be a family that has a second home which comes into play, or a rental property which comes into play. So all of that during the process is going to come up, and we're just going to look for the best avenue for that family, that individual.
Now, on the college piece of it, are they going to look at your monthly debt as well as your equity? So if you solve that, you kind of consolidate all your debt into your equity piece, is that, you got to kind of weigh that out because you're taking away some of your monthly debts?
Yeah. Well, the idea is to lower the EFC. If it's a private college and they're looking at that $100,000, they're going to look at that $100,000, and that $100,000 is going to add $6,000 a year to your EFC, so times 4 years. So if Scott just does a quick debt consolidation, and we do say it's 50, and we put the other 50 off the side to maybe help pay for school, you've lowered the cost for school by reducing your EFC, which is going to increase your financial aid, your financial need more, and it's going to help with cash flow to help start paying these schools.
How much does debt play into lowering that EFC? If you had the $50,000 credit card debt, does that weigh against your assets?
only if you bring it into the home, because it's the home equity you're looking at.
Gotcha.
For private schools. But another thing to point out is, it's not the nicest thing to hear because it's college, but they're really coming at you every which way but straight. For example, 529 plans. These are college savings plans, and they were sold to the public as this is a great way to save money for college because we're going to let all the gains come out tax-free. Well, what they forgot to tell you on the flip side of the coin is that it's an assessable asset. So as you're paying down your mortgage over here, you're increasing your cost for college because you're increasing your EFC, and while you're putting money over here in the 529 plan and earning interest if it's in the market, you're increasing your EFC as well.
So in this case, when it comes to college, home debt is actually a good thing.
Yeah,
you
managed correctly. We're not just telling people to go into debt.
Right, yeah. You don't want to be upside down on the property, but
sure.
And you probably don't want to be at zero equity either.
Exactly.
But you want to be able to manage the amount that you owe versus the amount that you have and put it all under that one umbrella.
Yep, there's a magic number, and we help everyone with that.
So give us an example, one of the most recent people that you helped. I mean, what was the best
case scenario?
What was the best results from someone?
Well, I can give you some average numbers. Yeah. On the federal methodology, state and out-of-state schools, which typically use that methodology, we save the average family about $10,000 a year. On the institutional methodology, where they count the home equity, we save the average family about $18,000 per year.
Wow.
Now, a quick example is where a lot of money is left on the table. For example, a client I'm working with now, they have 2 kids. Most families that have 2 kids, they have them about 2 years apart. Their income is such where their first kid did not qualify for any need-based aid. But once your second kid comes into college, the expected family contribution, think of it as the family contribution. Yep. So now you have 2 kids in school. So the EFC splits in half. So say your EFC was $65,000 a year and your kid's at a $50,000 school. Well, you're paying full price, right? But now that second student comes in, that 65 splits. So now that opens both kids up for a bunch of aid for those 2 years. That's a situation where I just see tens of thousands of dollars left on the table, because how is the family thinking? How are the parents thinking? Well, I didn't get any aid with one. I'm definitely not going to get aid with two, when the exact opposite is true.
Any benefit to just holding the first kid back 2 years and just saying you guys are both going at the same time?
I get that question. I get the divorce question all the time. Should we just get divorced? It's going to work if you do. I'm not kidding.
I don't think anyone needs any help with that one.
I'm just glad that my wife hadn't met you then.
So one last question on this part of it is how many people that you think are just paying the full boat going to college? I mean, people don't really understand that this is even available, right?
I know.
This is probably a huge percentage of the population just saying, hey, it's $60,000. We got to come up with $60,000. I'm taking this away from you. I'm taking this away from you. And then we're going to have to bunker down, you know?
Yeah. No, it's a lot of people, especially, folks who are, the $200,000 mark a year in income. A lot of folks have that mindset.
Right.
$200,000 to $250,000
household income.
Exactly, household income. A lot of people have that mindset, and they're wrong. It's unfortunate. They do qualify for a lot of aid, specifically when the second student gets into college.
At what point, how much money should you be making to get the most amount of benefit as you're sending your first kid off?
Well, unfortunately, as small amount as possible. But
you still got to live.
People got to live. People got to make money.
Not everyone's going to live in a double wide like you.
You people have to live. I'll eat ramen noodles.
Exactly. But they should. What I kind of say is a rule of thumb. If you're making $100,000 and $150,000 a year, household income, you have one in school. Please look at private colleges, because you can get into a private college, a $50,000, $60,000, $65,000 a year school now, and you can get out the same price as a state or in-state or out-of-state school. Actually, it could be cheaper than an out-of-state state school.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a huge savings.
Yeah.
So it's not your averages there.
And then there's the dynamic of the school. For example, UMass Amherst will let you go there 7 years to get your degree. We're a Babson or a Bentley. You got 4 years, you're in and out.
And that's without getting the title of doctor.
Exactly. I think it's 5.5 years is what the state schools in Mass that it's taking kids to graduate.
In my school, they asked me to leave pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, college has become a money-making institution.
It really is. It's a shakedown. I was talking.
Yeah, I mean, look at the beautiful.
Shakedown.
I mean, the beautiful campuses and the sports and all that. I'm sure it's. I mean, it's someone's paying the full price for it. That's for sure.
Yep.
But I mean, I think that's great information. If anyone's interested, definitely reach out to Ryan McCheffrey over at Mill City Financial. If you have any questions for us, just give us a shout at easymoney@newfed.com. And Jonathan, what do we like to say? There's no such thing.
That's right. There is no such thing
as easy money.
Easy money.
If there is, let us know.
Yeah, please do.
It's a new day, it's a new way. Call 877-NEW-FED-1. It's a new way.
Hi folks, it's Brian Damico, owner of NewFed Mortgage. People always ask me, what's the difference between pre-approved and pre-qualified? Well, pre-approval is a more rigorous process than a pre-qualification. It's a written commitment from a lender to extend a mortgage to you for a specific amount and time period. With a pre-approval, you'll be able to set your budget, negotiate confidently, and close faster. Typically, sellers will only accept offers from those who are pre-approved. That's why you need to call NewFed and ask about our pre-approval purchase program so that you get a real pre-approval and get on the fast track to purchasing the home of your dreams. Don't waste time dealing with big banks. Get pre-approved at NewFed today. We're local and we're here to help.
877-NEW-FED-1.
Subject to credit approval, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1881. Policy website for details.
877-NEW-FED-1. It's a new day, it's a new way. Call 877-NEW-FED-1. It's a new way.
Hi Hi folks, it's Brian Damico, owner of NewFed Mortgage. I've met so many people who want to make money in real estate but just don't know how. They pay for expensive real estate courses and seminars and they just left more confused. This is why I wrote the book, Real Estate Riches. Take the first step and buy your first home. Whether you want to buy your first home or an investment property, I share some of the best secrets to real estate success in my new book. Just visit ryanmcsheffrey.com/free book to receive your coupon from Amazon. When you finish reading, give me a call so we can set up your financial future together. That's ryanmcsheffrey.com, BRIANDAMICO.com/free book. Sign up and receive your free book from Amazon. Subject to credit approval, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1881. Call or see website for details.
877 NewFed 1.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.